Tonight on Evening Edition, vandalism on a local college campus has students feeling unsafe.
We're not inflicting this pain on ourselves, so they need to show up. They need to show us that they care about us and not only say we stand with you, but show us.
What students at San Diego State University are asking for after acts of violence targeting a Black Student Resource Center. Plus, the push to expand the convention center is once again a focus for the city, the new proposal for the 2020 ballot. And for decades, sewage coming in from Mexico has been a problem for San Diego beaches. Now it's causing concern for Border Patrol. We show you why. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Hello, it's Monday, April 15th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. San Diego voters will decide on a measure to fund an expansion of the convention center in March 2020. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says that was the outcome of a city council meeting today.
The Citizens Initiative, Yes for a Better San Diego, would fund the convention center expansion and homeless programs through a hike in the hotel room tax. Supporters wanted it on the March ballot, saying the matter is urgent. Also, they say too many tax measures on the November 2020 ballot would hurt its chances of passing. Critics rallied outside City Hall this afternoon, saying the convention center measure is too important to be decided in a low turnout primary election. They also said special interests should not get to pick their voters.
We are setting ourselves up for manipulation. We are setting ourselves up for special interests to control the outcome of these elections.
Supporters of the convention center measure later held a counter rally. The city charter does require citizens' initiatives to be decided in November general elections, but it also gives the city council the authority to decide if earlier is better. 5 council members decided March 2020 was the right time. Councilwoman Jen Campbell said homelessness is an urgent crisis.
We can have better solutions now in these modern times for our citizens in need, and we need to get to it as quickly as we can.
Now, the City Council has to cast another vote to officially place this measure on the March ballot, but a majority did express its intent today. The convention center expansion has long been one of Mayor Kevin Faulconer's top priorities. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
An act of vandalism or a hate crime. Over the weekend, someone broke into the Black Student Resource Center at San Diego State University. Students say it's a gathering place where they study, plan events, and simply hang out. But now they don't feel safe. Today, workers replaced a plasma television and repaired damaged computer monitors. Students tell KPBS they think someone vandalized the items rather than stealing them to send a message.
Honestly, I don't want to be here anymore. And as a student, when I came to SDSU, I came here, I wasn't in a rush. I was ready to get the most out of my educational experience. I was ready to take all the classes I could take. I was ready to be involved in everything and every part of my community, and now I feel pushed into my Black community, pushed into having to fight and struggle and constantly validating myself that I deserve to be here. And it's taxing.
Joined now by Luke Wood, the Chief Diversity Officer for San Diego State University. Welcome.
It's good to be here.
So what is your reaction to hearing from students who say they no longer feel safe here?
I mean, it's very saddening. We work really hard to try to create an environment where all of our students, all of our faculty, all of our staff can feel that they are welcome, that they are affirmed, that they are safe. And when you hear students say that they don't want to be here or they don't feel like this is a good place for them because of incidents that occurred, it's saddening because that's not what we're working to try to create and provide for them.
And tell me, how did the Black Resource Center come about? What exactly is it?
Well, there was students who had asked for a Black Resource Center. There's a couple different converging things that happened, including a breakfast that took place at a church that was a part of that discussion. But the main force behind it was student activism. Students were engaged in direct action with the institution and asked, saying that they wanted to have a space that was for them, a place that they could go and have programs and events and people that were really focused on building and affirming their own identities as Black individuals.
What's your reaction to this space that was supposed to be safe for these students having this experience in such a short period of time?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not something that we want to see, and we're very unhappy about it. We're upset with it. We're also affected by this, because we see these events taking place, and it's not what we sought to create for our students. And so what we've been trying to do is be very proactive in trying to create action steps that can create a better environment for the students. So after the second incident that you mentioned, where a group of men drove by the Black Resource Center and yelled the N-word out at the center, we brought together the community, and we did a series of 3 different healing circles where we had students, faculty, staff come together, talk about what had taken place, talk about how it made them feel. And then we had a following meeting after that where we asked them, students, what do you want to see? And from that meeting, they came up with recommendations, about 10 recommendations of what they wanted to see in terms of faculty hirings, in terms of cultural relevance in our curriculum, and a number of other things. We then connected those students with senators on campus, Nola Butler-Byrd, who is one of our faculty members, and Mark Wheeler, who's another faculty member. And they had 19 senators sign on with them to bring a resolution to our university senate to help create a better environment for our Black students, with including some of those recommendations that I just mentioned. That resolution was passed unanimously. And so, last week coming into this week, I think everyone was feeling very proud and very happy with what we have been able to accomplish as a community. So to have this happen on the heels of that, it's been a real damper for everyone, and it's not what we want to see, and I would like to believe that it doesn't represent our community as a whole.
What can be done to let them know that they are part of the university as a whole?
Well, it's funny you say that, because that's the whole reason that the Black Resource Center was started, right, was to try to create that environment for our students. I think it just goes deeper. We have to have faculty members who are out supporting our students. We have to have staff members who are doing the same. We have to have an environment where we're making sure that everyone feels welcome. And I feel like we've made a lot of strides towards that as a community. But as you know, we will not be able to convince everyone that everyone's life and mind is valued. And unfortunately, there are people who may feel differently and may not perceive this piece of property to be something that's important to them, and so they would act in this way. That being said, I would think that our university community as a whole is very much committed to diversity and inclusion. Our new president, President Della De La Torre, has made diversity one of her primary focuses for the campus. And in fact, this position that I currently reside in is a new position that was created to help advance diversity and inclusion across the campus. But like every other campus across the country, we still got a lot of work to do. And unfortunately, what we see here is no different than what we see in many other places, and we just have to continue to engage individuals in discussions and collective sense-making and greater awareness so that we don't have things like this continue to occur.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
A Camp Pendleton Marine died over the weekend after a training exercise. 2 other Marines from the Elite Special Operations Unit were also injured. Saturday's accident involved a tactical vehicle. The Marine was taken to the hospital in critical condition, but he died Sunday night. The Marines are withholding his identity until his family is notified. An investigation is underway. Raw sewage coming in from Mexico isn't just a problem for surfers and beachgoers in San Diego's South County. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman says U.S. Border Patrol agents are also being impacted by contaminated water pouring in from Tijuana.
Ugh. One of these days, I'm not going to be able to stand it anymore.
That's Border Patrol agent Amber Craig's reaction to the smell of rotten, untreated sewage.
So this is the main river channel where the Tijuana River first crosses the international boundary from Mexico into the United States. It's sunny out right now. We haven't had any storms, and yet there's water flowing here. So if there's water flowing here and it hasn't been raining, then that means that this is basically raw sewage, untreated sewage.
Agents are used to working in this environment.
Fecal coliforms and basically human waste is kind of the generic way to describe it. Very, very high levels. If 10,000, most probable number is the unit that's measured. So 10,000 MPN is the maximum that's recommended for human safety, health safety, recreational exposure. We would see it in the million, 2 million, more than that.
There's supposed to be a system in place that takes this water to a treatment plant.
So if it's coming here, then that's not happening, and that shouldn't happen when it's not raining.
The U.S.-Mexico border runs along this channel, and agents often catch people illegally crossing here.
If there's water flowing, they're getting in it, and it's a hazard to them, and it's a hazard to the agent who has to apprehend them.
And that could cause the spread of bacteria to others in Border Patrol custody, so
typically we'll have to hose them off. And that's something it's very new for us now. It's not something that is our area of expertise. As Border Patrol agents, that's not our job. We're not supposed to be decon expert.
The Border Patrol pays contractors to try and keep this channel as clear as possible. They use excavators and heavy construction equipment to move built-up sewage.
Debris, plastics, trash, sewage, it all comes over the border. So it has to be cleaned out on a daily basis. Somebody is sitting just downwind, upwind of this 24 hours a day here and in other locations. So we're exposed to whatever it is, and we just don't know really what the long-term effects are.
Last year, U.S. Customs and Border Protection commissioned a study to see what was in some of the sewage coming from Mexico.
We're still at the beginning process to try to figure out what is maybe naturally occurring and what is not, and what is going to be a hazard for us as agents working in and around it, and definitely being exposed to it.
There are channels all along the border where sewage regularly comes in from Mexico.
This has been going on forever. It's always been an issue.
The Border Patrol took us to another spot that's known for sewage spills. It was a warm day, and the SUV we were riding in had the air conditioner on. As we approached another drain, the strong stink of rotten sewage started pouring into the vehicle.
We're just exposed to it all the time. Hold on, we got to get that on recycle. That's horrible. Smell it. We're just exposed to it, and so we kind of, it's your job. It's our job. It's what we do. And so we haven't been very good about paying close attention to where we were when our boots melted or where I was when I got that rash.
The Border Patrol is now paying closer attention. The agency is filling out reports when agents get sick to try and spot trends.
This murky green water smells like raw sewage. It's coming from Mexico, which is just right behind me here.
The Border Patrol has been investing in protective gear for its agents working in the field. That includes things like seat covers for vehicles, charcoal masks, and showers to decontaminate agents.
That's all new. Yeah, we didn't have any of that before, and we didn't really think about it before.
Just last month, U.S. Customs and Border Protection wrapped up another study looking at what was inside the sewage.
We know there are things that are hazardous. We just don't know what exactly they are, how hazardous they are, and what do we need to do to stay away from it, to protect ourselves from it. We'll figure that all out, hopefully with all the testing.
Craig says she's encouraged seeing politicians at the federal, state, and local level calling for the sewage issue to be fixed.
I have never felt so positive as I do today that perhaps we might actually make some progress with minimizing these flows from Mexico.
By studying the sewage, the Border Patrol hopes to better understand what exactly is coming from Mexico. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
The flow of sewage coming in from Mexico is increased when it rains, and rain is in the horizon. But it won't be sticking around for long. Meteorologist Mark Mancuso has our forecast.
Changes on the way in our weather. Starting late tonight and into Tuesday, we'll be getting wet, and we'll have some strong gusty winds. So we see showers arriving late tonight and continuing through Tuesday. The winds will start to strengthen, bringing in the cooler air. Strong and gusty west winds in the mountains and deserts. Wind advisories are in effect. We could see winds gusting past 50 miles an hour. Storms in and out of here, so by Wednesday it's drier and the beginning of a warming trend. As we take a look at the latest satellite and radar, well, you can see that next system approaching from the northwest, and that'll be diving down through our area later tonight and during the day Tuesday. So rather cloudy here tonight, clouds thickening up. Low temperature down to 58. We'll see some showers arriving later tonight, spreading to Oceanside, San Diego, and Borrego Springs. Mount Laguna could see some showers coming on in. Hula Vista is down to 56. Campo is down to 40 for a low. During the day on Tuesday, that storm continues to drop into the deserts. Look at that. We'll see some storms. Vegas down towards Phoenix. Strong winds blowing through the mountains and the deserts. Cooler air rushing through our area, and we'll be looking at showers, so you might need the umbrellas. As we take a look at the temperatures for you, low 70s Borrego Springs, Mount Laguna's in the mid 40s, Campo's in the mid 50s, Otherwise, we're pretty much in the low to mid 60s here from Escondido down through San Diego to Hula Vista. So some showery conditions, breezy, and just a touch cool. Looking ahead, the middle part of the week, that storm's out of here. Big problems in the plains. We'll be looking at dry, warmer weather. So the extended forecast looks pretty nice here along the coast. Thursday and Friday, we'll see temperatures in the low 70s. Lots of sunshine on Thursday. Heading inland, we'll see some low 80s Thursday and Friday, mostly sunny to partly sunny skies. Taking you over to the deserts, we'll hit the low 90s here Thursday, mid 90s on Friday. And in the mountains, looks pleasant. Thursday and Friday, temperatures in the mid 60s with sunshine. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Mark Mancuso. Back to you.
While wet weather is in the forecast, Southern California's rainy season comes to a close in about 2 weeks. This winter is already among some of the region's wettest recorded. KPBS reporter Eric Anderson has a look at the KPBS water gauge.
Now, this past winter was the second in 3 years to produce above average rainfall in San Diego. The KPBS water gauge tracks rainfall and snowpack in California, and both totals running well above average. National Weather Service forecaster Alex Tardy says it was a winter of stormy weather.
We saw rain that started in December and then it wouldn't let up. It went right through New Year's Eve, picked up hard in the middle of January. And then it was really the grand finale in February and early March where we had big rain events that was a little too much.
The KPBS weather gauge tracks precipitation at San Diego's airport, and the gauge shows rain totals are about 15% above normal. KPBS averages snowpack totals at 4 separate locations in the Sierra Nevada mountains, and the current snowpack is about 70% above average. Now, this map points to the southwest, which shows the entire region is much wetter than normal.
Just show me where it was unusually wet, not the total amount of rain or snow, but where was it unusually wet? And that really signals the southwest area, the area that's really been suffering from this multi-year drought. Basically the Four Corners area of Colorado all the way through California.
Now, Tardy says that 2 of the last 3 years have been very wet in San Diego, but they bookend one of the driest years on record, which happened last year. San Diego got barely half of its expected rainfall. Tardy says the rain has helped pull the region out of drought, but he says that 7 of the last 10 years have been drier than normal. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
Governor Gavin Newsom is nearing his 100th day in office. In his first few months as governor, he suspended the death penalty, sued Huntington Beach over the lack of affordable housing, and traveled to El Salvador to learn more about asylum seekers fleeing for safety. Here's what he told Capitol Public Radio about immigration, President Trump, and sanctuary cities.
That's what they're doing. They're sending folks to street corners and Greyhound bus stations in a sanctuary state, disproportionately in our state, legal asylum seekers. That's why we opened a migrant facility to do the job of the federal government to provide some humanity and some dignity through that process and to make sure people don't end up homeless or in our emergency rooms. I was just in El Salvador. He's intentionally making things worse by pulling all the federal funding in the Northern Triangle for El Salvador and other countries in Central America. That's going to increase the migrant crisis. His unwillingness to address the issue of due process and support the adjudication of claims at the border, his unwillingness to staff and fund those efforts exacerbates the issue. And in many ways, he's inviting a crisis of his own making. He's manufacturing it for purely political purposes to feed the base.
Make sure to tune in to Evening Edition tomorrow for more of the interview with Governor Gavin Newsom. Today is the last day to file your taxes. If you haven't done so already, you have until midnight. Just before the deadline, 2020 presidential candidates began releasing their tax returns. Bernie Sanders and Senator Kamala Harris being the latest. Sanders released his just about an hour ago, showing he made a little more than $500,000 last year. Harris's filings show she and her husband jointly made more than $2 million in 2018. Most of the money was reportedly earned by her husband. Illegal and legal immigration has been at the forefront of the national conversation for years and will remain so in the 2020 election. But getting here is only one of the problems migrants face. As Michael Hill from the Associated Press reports, those who live here illegally are finding it hard to keep their jobs.
In New York's farm region, workers living illegally in this country say the expansive terrain creates a big problem. Grocery stores and job sites are too far away to walk, but their immigration status bars them from getting a New York driver's license.
I have the need to operate a vehicle. If my children got sick overnight, who do you think will be there for me 24/7?
Immigrants and advocates are making a push in a half-dozen states to join the 12 that already allow residents to obtain driver's licenses without a social security number or proof of lawful status. They see a friendlier political map in states where Democrats made gains, and they worry about increased activity by immigration and customs enforcement agents. The New York law would help farm workers like Luis Jimenez, who drives daily to work and for family errands. The father of 3 knows that a traffic stop could lead to him being deported, but he says driving is a must.
I'm looking for a better future for my kids and for my family.
Eladio Beltran faces possible deportation after a traffic stop brought him to the attention of federal agents. A judge could decide his fate in May.
He can hold me right there and have an officer escort me over to detention, then next day put me on a plane and go into Mexico. I know that on the court date, it's possible that I wouldn't be seeing my family anymore.
The New York proposal faces opposition. A recent poll found widespread disapproval. One Republican lawmaker says the law would lead to voter fraud, bank fraud, and identity theft.
And if they want to stay here, then they should become citizens. We have a system in our country, and it's there for a reason. And so just follow the system and be here legally, and that's the answer to all of it.
Advocates say states with licenses for drivers here illegally have lower traffic fatality rates. Dairy farm worker Ismael Castellanos supports the measure for personal reasons. It would end his reliance on getting rides to work and to the grocery store. For now, he can only get behind the wheel on a farm. Michael Hill, Associated Press.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, France's famed Notre Dame Cathedral engulfed in flames, putting the structure and priceless works of culture at risk. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
A treatment for Alzheimer's disease remains elusive, and so does an effective way of dealing with its worst symptoms. As WBGH reporter Arun Roth reports, one Massachusetts family found medical marijuana helps significantly, and now they're funding a study to see if it could work for others.
Greg Spear's dad, Alex, lived an amazing life.
He was a prisoner of war during World War II. He fought for the Dutch underground army and was captured at basically 14 and a half, 15 years old, and spent 3 years in the concentration camps. He survived because he learned to be a watchmaker. He used to fix watches for the German soldiers in exchange for food and water.
After the war, Alex Spear turned from the nightmare of the Holocaust to the dream of America, bringing nothing but that skill with watches to start a jewelry store, raising a family, and then making his fortune in real estate.
It was a life well lived, it just didn't end well.
Alzheimer's disease saw to that. Alex Spear spent the last year of his life in rapid decline, progressing quickly from memory loss to more difficult symptoms like agitation and aggression, and the delusion that he was reliving the nightmare of the concentration camp.
It was just horrible to see those sort of memories that had been suppressed his entire life coming back.
When nothing else worked, a family member suggested trying medical marijuana.
The first night that we gave it to him was the first night that he slept through the night in I'd say, weeks. It was remarkable. You know, whatever time we had with him, you know, with a significant dementia patient, if you get the glimmer of hope every once in a while to see that, you know, your loved one is still around is really a special time.
The family's experience was of particular interest to Dr. Brent Forrester, who had completed a study showing the active ingredient in marijuana seemed to reduce agitation in a small group of dementia patients.
The FDA, to this day, has never approved a single medication to treat any of the behavioral symptoms of dementia. Any medicine we would use to help calm or reduce those symptoms is all off-label.
And when it comes to marijuana, there's no federal funding for medical research.
I kind of felt it was like a trial and error, with my father being kind of like the human guinea pig.
But long before he got sick, Alex Spear started a charitable foundation that supports medical research. The Spear Family Foundation is now funding a study Dr. Forrester will design that will explore marijuana as a treatment for the behavioral effects of dementia.
My father kind of lived his life, and one of his little mottos was, I want to leave the world a better place than I found it.
Between the Holocaust and Alzheimer's, life took a lot away from Alex Spear, but even in death, he's found a way to give a lot back.
You can read more about plans for this medical marijuana study at WGBH.org. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.